Conversations with God, Book 3, Chapter 7. We've covered a lot here. Boy, we have really covered a lot. Can we make another shift? Are you ready to go on? Are you? Yes, I'm rolling now. I have finally gotten on a roll, and I want to ask every question I've been waiting 3 years to ask. I'm okay with that. Go. Cool, Nancy. So I would like now to talk about another of the esoteric mysteries. Will you speak to me about reincarnation? Sure. Many religions say that reincarnation is a false doctrine, that we get only one life, one chance. I know, and that's not accurate. How can they be so wrong about something so important? How can they not know the truth about something so basic? You must understand that humans have many fear-based religions whose teachings surround a doctrine of a God who is to be worshipped and feared. It was through fear that your entire Earth society reformed itself from the matriarchy into the patriarchy. It was through fear that the early priests got people to mend their wicked ways and heed the word of the Lord. It was through fear that churches gained and controlled their membership. Only churches? Only church. Think temples and many others, whatever, are all kind of a place of worship. Why pick on one church for? One church even insisted that God would punish you if you did not go to church every Sunday. Not going to church was declared a sin. That's not just about church. Even in other religions, they declare that. It's not just Catholic. It's not just about Christianity. And not just any church. One had to attend one particular church. If you went to a church of a different denomination, that too was a sin. This was an attempt at control, pure and simple, using fear. The amazing thing is, it worked. Hell, it still works. Say, you are God, don't swear. Who was swearing? I was making a statement of fact. I said, hell, it still works. People will always believe in hell and a God who would send them there, as long as they believe that God is like men, ruthless, self-serving, unforgiving, and vengeful. In days past, most people could not imagine a God who might rise above all of that. So they accepted the teaching of many churches to fear the terrible vengeance of the Lord. It was as if people couldn't trust themselves to be good, to act appropriately on their own, for their own built-in reasons. So they had to create a religion that taught the doctrine of an angry, retributive God in order to keep themselves in line. Now, the idea of reincarnation threw a monkey wrench into all of that. How so? What made that doctrine so threatening? The church once proclaimed that you'd better be nice or else, and along came the reincarnationists saying, you'll have another chance after this, and another chance after that, and still more chances. So don't worry. Do the best you can. Don't become so paralyzed with fear that you can't budge. Promise yourself to do better and get on with it. Yeah, have another chance after suffer the other side, is it? Naturally, the early church couldn't hear of such a thing, so it did two things. First, it denounced the doctrine of reincarnation as heretical. Then it created the sacrament of confession, Confession could do for the church goer what reincarnation promised, that is, give him another chance. So then we had a setup where God would punish you for your sins unless you confess them. In that case, you could feel safe knowing that God had heard your confession and forgiven you. Yes, but there was a catch. This absolution could not come directly from God. It had to flow through the church, whose priests pronounced penances which had to be performed. These were usually prayers which were required of the sinner. So now you had two reasons to keep up your membership. The church found confession to be such a good drawing card that soon it declared it to be a sin not to go to confession. Everybody had to do it at least once a year. If they didn't, God would have another reason to be angry. More and more rules, many of them arbitrary and capricious, began to be promulgated by the church. Each rule having the power of God's internal condemnation behind it, unless, of course, failure was confessed. Then the person was forgiven by God and condemnation avoided. But now there was another problem. People figured out that this must mean they could do anything as long as they confessed. The church was in a quandary. Fear had left the hearts of the people. Church attendance and membership dropped. People came to confess once a year, say their penances were absolved of their sins, and went on with their lives. There was no question about it. A way had to be found to strike fear into the heart again. So, purgatory was invented. Oh, they don't exist, huh? Really, huh? How sure you are? If there is, I have a channel here. It's called Beyond the 3D. You go there, you see all the spirits that I can count on cam. You know, a haunted park here nearby where I live. I go at night, at midnight onwards. It's real terrible there. And then they say, oh, there's no purgatory. Yeah, I really find it hard to believe all these things, some things said here. Purgatory? Purgatory. This one's described as a place something like hell, but not internal. Yeah, at least the Catholic put purgatory. Some would say hell, huh? The East religions talk about a hell, but soon they will be reincarnated. Not soon over there, not in our time. And many other religions talk about hell. At least the Catholic talk about purgatory, which means you push yourself or just push that causal bubble, which is a program. This new doctrine declared that God would make you suffer for your sins, even if you confessed them. Under the doctrine, a certain amount of suffering was decreed by God for each non-perfect soul based on the number and type of sins committed. There were mortal sins and venial sins. Mortal sins would send you right to hell if not confessed before death. Once more, charge attendance shoot up. Collections were up too, and especially contributions. For the doctrine of purgatory was included a way one could buy one's way out of this suffering. I'm sorry? According to the church teaching, one could receive a special indulgence, but again not directly from God, only from an official of the church. These special indulgences freed one from the suffering purgatory which they had earned with their sins, or at least part of it. Something like time off for good behavior? Yes, but of course these reprieves were granted to very few. Generally those who made a conspicuous contribution to the church. For a really huge sum, one could obtain a plenary indulgency. This meant no time in purgatory at all. It is called bribe, also have here in some culture in the East. So it's called, it's called bribe. They bribe their own gods. And it's not about Catholic alone, okay? Even those religion who claim to be 5,000 years old also has this law. So let's drop the discrimination, shall we? So, she could not receive special urgency, something like time off for good behavior. Yes, but of course these reprieves were granted to very few. For a really huge sum, one could obtain a plenary indulgency, which means no time in purgatory at all. It was non-stop ticket straight to heaven. This special favor from God was available for even fewer. Royalty, perhaps, and the super rich. The amount of money, jewels, and land given to the church in exchange for these plenary indulgences was enormous. This is fraud. But the exclusivity of all this brought great frustration and resentment to the masses. No pun intended. The poorest peasant hadn't a hope of gaining a bishop's indulgency, and so the rank and file lost faith in the system, with a tendency threatening to drop once again. And the ideas are so stupid that without the poor, they're not gonna make enough money, because religion is the opium of the poor men, and that's true. Without the poor, how much can they get from the rich? Given that not all riches are interested in church. Now, what did they do? They brought in the novena candles for the poor. People could come to the church and light a novena candle for the poor souls in purgatory, and by saying a novena, a series of prayers in a particular order that took some time to complete, they could knock years off the sentence of the dearly departed, extricating them from purgatory sooner than God would otherwise have allowed. Oh, God otherwise have allowed. So this God won't allow, isn't it? Is this what you try to say? Even at the Chinese religion, there's something. They send the man to bribe the gods. They send the man to their beloved ones, credit card, cell phone, latest computer, houses, car, etc., so that they will have everything there, all those things there. Okay, so it doesn't change. They couldn't do anything for themselves, but at least they could pray for mercy for the departed. Of course, it would be helpful if a coin or two were dropped through the slot for each candle lit. A lot of little candles were flickering behind a lot of red glass, and a lot of pesos and pennies were being dropped into a lot of tin boxes, in an attempt to get me to ease up on the suffering being inflicted on those souls in purgatory. Ay, this always I laugh, but it's a serious matter, but I laugh because of the circus. It just sounds like a circus to me. Doesn't matter who invented all this rubbish. To me, it's rubbish. Doesn't matter who invented men or their gods. It's all madness, really. Whew, this is unbelievable. And you mean people could not see right through all that? People did not see it as the desperate attempt of a desperate church to keep its members desperate to do anything to protect themselves from this desperado they called God? You mean people actually bought this stuff? Quite literally? Well, what to do? Stupid or no intelligence, so they are used. After all, ignorance for these lots is a bliss, okay? And they take chance because they give them like it's an opium for them to forget their sorrows, their misery, their problem, etc. They use religion to alleviate the pain, the crisis, existential crisis that they go on. No wonder the church declared the reincarnation to be an untruth. Yes. Yet, when I created you, I did not create you so that you could live one lifetime, an infinitesimal period, an infinitesimal period. Really? Given the age of the universe, make the mistakes you are inevitably going to make, then hope for the best at the end. I've tried to imagine setting it up that way, but I can never figure out what my porpuse would be. You could never figure it out either. That's why you have had to keep saying things like, the Lord works in a mysterious ways. Yeah, this is what they tell every time. Because they are unable to explain the things that they don't have the cognitive resonance to explain. He's want us to perform, but I don't work in mysterious ways. Everything I do has a reason, and it is perfectly clear. I have explained why I created you and the purpose of your life many times now during this trilogy. Reincarnation fits perfectly into that purpose, which is for me to create and experience who I am through you. That one means soul fractal, okay? Soul copies fractal. To not like divide itself into parties and then set about to create a universe of make-believe. Lifetime after lifetime and through the millions of other creatures of consciousness I have placed in the universe. Then there is life on other. Of course there is. Do you really believe that you are alone in this gigantic universe? But that's another topic we can get to later. Promise? Promise. So, your purpose as a soul is to experience yourself as all of it. We are evolving. We are becoming. Becoming what? We do not know. Yeah, they are still on the quest to find out what life is all about, what this experience. And I have figured it out this long time already. And then I even laugh when I think about it. Become what? We do not know. We cannot know until we get there. But for us, the journey is the joy, and is what matters is the experience, not the results. The journey is the joy, and so as we get there, as soon as we create the next highest idea of who we are, we'll create a grander thought, a high idea, and continue the joy forever. Are you with me here? Yes, but this time I almost could repeat this verbatim. Verbatim. Good. So, The point and purpose of your life is to decide and to be who you really are. In Tai Chi, that's what we are in Tai Chi. Outside one body, carrying one body, even if this body is broken apart. Oh, God. Sometimes I wish I could be just like that the beings I saw there on the park. They are so fast. They are anti-Ts and they are so fast. They can run very fast. You know, can run very fast and so light and speedy. You are doing that every day, with every action, with every thought, with every word. That's what you are doing. Now, to the degree that you are pleased with that, pleased with who you are in your experience, to that degree you will stick more or less with the creation, making only minor adjustments here and there to get it closer and closer to perfect. Paramahansa Yogananda is an example of a person who was very close to perfect, as in out picturing of what he thought of himself. He had a very clear idea about himself and about his relationship to me, and he used his life to out picture that. He wanted to experience his idea about himself and his own reality, to know himself as that, spiritually. How? In what way? Baby Roth did the same thing. He had a very clear idea about himself and his relationship to me, and he used his life to outpicture that, to know himself and his own experience. Not many people live that level. Now granted, the master and the babe have two entirely different ideas about themselves, yet they both play them out magnificently. They also both had different ideas about me, that's for sure. And we are coming from different levels of consciousness about who I am and about their true relationship to me. And those levels of consciousness were reflected in their thoughts, words, and actions. One was in a place of peace and serenity most of his life, and brought deep peace and serenity to others. The other was a place of anxiousness, turmoil, and occasional anger, particularly when he couldn't get his way, and brought turmoil to the lives of those around him. Both were good-hearted, however. There was never softer touch than the babe, and the difference between the two is that one had visually nothing in terms of physical acquisitions, but never wanted more than he had. Maybe he's talking about um, Paramahansa Yogananda. Is it? I don't know. Then, then what he got, while the other had everything and never got what he really wanted. Because we are always looking for something else in life. We are never satisfied because that thing which we are after is not the thing that your souls want. If that were the end of it for George Herman, I suppose we could all feel a little sad about that. But the soul that embodied itself as Beirut is far from finished with this process called evolution. It had an opportunity to review the experiences it produced for itself as well as the experience it produced for others, and now gets to decide what next it would like to experience as it seeks to create and recreate itself in grander and grander versions. We'll drop our narrative regarding these two souls here because Both have already made their next choice regarding what they want to now experience. And in fact, both are now experiencing that. You mean both had already reincarnation into another bodies? It would be a mistake to assume that reincarnation, return to another physical body, was the only option open to them. What are the other options? In truth, whatever they want them to be. I have already explained here what occurs after what you call your death. Some souls feel that there is a lot more they would like to know, and so they find themselves going to a school, whereas other souls, what you call old souls, teach them, or masters. And what do they teach them? That they have nothing to learn. Good, bravo. That they never had anything to learn. Of course, this is not a school. This is a theater for us to play. Okay? This is a theater. Some make-believe world, not a school. Many of your dogmas has been wrong, people. So that they never had to do or remember who and what they really are. They are taught that the experience of who they are is gained in the acting out of it and being it. They are reminded of this by having it gently shown to them. Other souls have already remembered this by the time they get to, or soon after they get to, the other side. Thanks for me, I know already before I will get to another side. I'm using language now with which you are familiar. Speaking your vernacular to keep as much as possible the words out of the way. These souls may then seek the immediate joy of experiencing themselves as whatever they wish to be. They may select from the million, gazillion aspects of me and choose to experience that right then and there. Some may opt to return to physical form to do that. Any physical form? Any. Then, it's true that souls could return as animals, that God could be a that then it's true that souls could return as animals. No, sorry. Wait a minute. Okay. I'm still laugh. I cannot stop. Okay. That God could be a cow. and that and that cows really are sacred. Holy cow. Sorry. You have had a whole lifetime to do stand-up comedy. And by the way, looking at your life, you, then the entity replied to him, you have had a whole lifetime to do stand-up comedy. And by the way, looking at your life, you have done a pretty good job of it. Kaboom! That one's a rim shot. If I had a symbol, if I had a symbol here, I'd give you a symbol crush. Thank you, but seriously, folks, The answer to the question you are basically asking, can a soul return as an animal, is yes, of course. The real question is, would it? No, they wouldn't. The answer is probably not. Yeah, because it's not because animal is less than nice, is stupid, this and that. No, they are magnificent, divine beings. At least for me, they are beautiful, amazing. They are our companions. They do have feelings, and I believe that they do have souls as well. On that, they are on the lower the lower scale of evolution. And once you, let's say, okay, now you are in grade 5, would you want to go back to grade 4 or grade 3 too? Surely not. You'd like to go up to grade 6, isn't it? So it's the same thing. That's the same thing about answering this question. uh, The real question is, would it? The answer is probably no. No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't want to become an animal. Maybe I would. Why not? I want. I would love to be an insect, a butterfly, dragonfly. Dragonfly was one of the first being here on earth, and I just love them. A ladybird. It's to me no problem. Do animals have souls? Anyone who has ever stared into the eyes of an animal already knows the answer to that. Exactly. They do have a soul, what amazing, beautiful, shining, resplendent soul do the animals have. Then how do I know it is not my grandmother come back as my cat? Yeah, sometimes it can be, sometimes no. Who knows? The process we are discussing here is evolution, self-creation and evolution. And evolution proceeds one way, upward, ever upward, not downward. The soul's greatest desire is to experience higher and higher aspects of itself. And so it seeks to move upward, not downward on the evolutionary scale, until it experiences what has been called nirvana. Then yes, once they merge, you can come back as whatever you want. But until still you have a human soul, you cannot go down. You must going up until you complete your circle. Your circles can take millions of years. Then you're gonna stop. Billions of years. Then you can come back as an animal. Total oneness with the all. That is with me. But if the soul desires higher and higher experiences of itself, why would it even bother returning as a human being? Bravo! Surely that can't be a step upward. Exactly, I love this statement. If the soul returns to human form, it is always an effort to further experience and just further evolve. There are many levels of evolution observable and demonstrated in humans. That's true. There is things that make us proud to be human, like some men helping animals in trouble and help one another during difficult times of disaster, etc. One could come back for many lifetimes, many hundreds of lifetimes, and continue to evolve upward. Yet, upward movement, the grandest desire of the soul, is not achieved with a return to a lower life form. Thus, such a return does not occur, not until the soul reaches ultimate reunion with all there is. Yeah, that's true. We need to make a reunion. We go back to nirvana, then you can come back as we please in any form. That must mean there are new souls come into the system every day, taking lower life forms. No, every soul that was ever created was created at once. We are all here now, but as I have explained it before, when a soul, a part of me, reaches ultimate realization, it has the option to start over, to literally forget everything, so that it can remember all over again and recreate itself anew once more. In this way, God continues to re-experience itself. Souls may also choose to recycle through a particular life form at a particular level as often as they like. Without reincarnation, without the ability to return to a physical form, the soul will have to accomplish everything it seeks to accomplish within one lifetime, which is 1 billion times shorter than the blink of an eye on the cosmic clock. So, yes, of course, reincarnation is a fact. It is real, it's purposeful, and it is perfect. Okay, but there is one thing I'm confused about. You say there is nothing such as a time, that all things are happening right now. Is that correct? It is. And then you implied in book 2, you went into depth on this, that we exist all the time on different levels or at various points in the space-time continuum. That's true. Okay, but now here's where it gets crazy. If one of the means on the space-time continuum dies, then comes back here as another person, then who am I? I would have to be existing as two people at once. And if I keep on doing this through all eternity, which you say I do, then I'm being 100 people at once, 1,000, 1,000,000. It's because all belong to the same soul fractal. 1,000,000 versions of 1,000,000 people at 1,000,000 points in the space-time continuum. Yes, I don't understand that. My mind can't grasp that. Actually, you have done well. It is very advanced concept, and you have done pretty well with it. But if that's true, then I, the part of me that is immortal, must be evolving in a billion different ways, in a billion different forms, at a billion different points on the cosmic wheel in the internal moment of now. Yeah, right again. That's exactly what I'm doing. No, I say that's what I must be doing. I must be doing. Right again. That's what I just said. No. I said. I know what you said. You said just what I said you said. The confusion here is that you still think there is more than one of us here. There is not. There was never more than one of us here. Ever. Are you just finding that out? You mean I have just been talking to myself here? Something like that. You mean you are not God? That's not what I said. You mean You are God. That's what I said. But if you are God and you are me and I am you, then I'm God. You are God. Yes, that's correct. You grok it in fluency. But I'm not the only God. I'm also everyone else. Yes. But does that mean that no one and nothing else exists but me? Haven't I said I and my Father are one? Yes, but in heaven I said we are all one? Yes, but I didn't know you mean that literally. I thought you meant that figuratively. I thought it was more of a philosophical statement, not a statement of fact. It's a statement of fact. We are all one. That's what's meant by whatsoever ye do unto the least of this, ye do unto me. Do you understand now? Yes. At last. At long last. But you forgive me for arguing this, but when I'm with another, my spouse for instance, or my children, it feels that I'm separate from them, that they are other than me. Consciousness is a marvelous thing. It can be divided into 1,000 pieces, a million times a million. I have divided myself into infinite number of pieces so that each piece of me could look back on itself and behold the wonder of who and what I am. But why do I have to go through this period of forgetfulness, of disbelief? I'm still not totally believing. I'm still hanging out in forgetfulness. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's part of the process. It's okay. That is happening this way. Then why are you telling me all this now? Because you were starting not to have fun. Life was beginning not to be a joy anymore. You were starting to get so caught up in the process that you forget it was just a process. And so you called out to me. You asked me to come to you to help you understand, to show you the way, to show you the divine truth, to reveal to you the greatest secret, the secret you have kept from yourself, the secret of who you are. Now I have done so. Now once again you have been caused to remember. Will it matter? Will it change how you act tomorrow? Will it cause you to see things differently tonight? Will you now heal the hurts of the wounded, kill the anxieties of the fearful, meet the needs of the impoverished, celebrate the magnificency of the accomplished, and see the visions of me everywhere? Will the latest remembrance of truth change your life and allow you to change the lives of others? Or will you return to forgetfulness, fall back into selfishness, revisit and reside again in the smallness of who you imagine yourself to be before this awakening? Which will be? Chapter 8. Life really does go on forever and ever, doesn't it? It most certainly does. There is no end to it. No end. Reincarnation is a fact. It is. You may return to mortal form. There is a physical form which can die whenever and however you wish. Do you decide when you want to come back? If and when? Yes. What will be this if and when? Do you also decide when you want to live? Do you choose when you want to die? Of course, that's commit suicide and euthanasia and bingo. No experience is visited upon any soul against the soul's will. That is by definition not possible, since the soul is creating every experience. The soul wants nothing. The soul has everything, all wisdom, all knowing, all power, all glory. The soul is the part of you which never sleeps, never forgets. Does the soul decide that the body dies? No. It is the soul's desire that you never die. Yet the soul will leave the body, change its bodily form, leaving most of the material behind at the drop of a hat when it sees no purpose in remaining in that form. If it is the soul's desire, then we never die. Why do we? You do not. You merely change form. If it is the soul's desire that we never do that, why do we? That's not the soul's desire. You are a shapeshifter. When there is no further usefulness and stay in a particular form, the soul changes form willfully, voluntarily, joyfully, and moves on the cosmic wheel. Joyfully, with great joy. No soul dies regretfully. No soul dies ever. Yeah, they don't die, but they still goes resentfully sometimes. I mean, no soul has regrets that the current physical form is changing. It's about to die. The body never dies, but merely changes form with the soul. Huh? That means how come they decompose? That one's another kind of about the photocopies, the light body and the causal body. But merely changes form with the soul. Yet I understand your meaning, so for now I use the vocabulary you have established. If you have a clear understanding of what you wish to create, with regard to what you have chosen to call the afterlife, or if you have a clear set of beliefs that support an after-death experience of reuniting with God, then no, the soul never ever has regrets over what you call death. Death in the sense is a glorious moment, a wonderful experience. Now the soul can return to its natural form, its normal state. There is an incredible lightness, a sense of total freedom, a limitlessness, and an awareness of oneself that is at once blissful and sublime. It is not possible for the soul to regret such a shift. You are saying then that death is a happy experience for the soul that wishes it to be? Yes, always. Well, if the soul wants out of the body so bad, why doesn't it just leave it? Why is it hanging around? He means the ghost. I did not say the soul wants out of the body. I say the soul is joyful when it is out. Those are two different things. You can be happy doing one thing and happy then doing another. The fact that you are joyful doing the second does not mean you are unhappy doing the first. The soul is not unhappy being with the body. Quite to the contrary, the soul is pleased to be you in your present form. That does not preclude the possibility that the soul might be equally pleased to be disconnected from it. There is obviously much about that I do not understand. Yes, and that's because you do not like to think about it. Yet you must contemplate that and lose the instant you perceive any moment of life, or you will not have perceived life at all, but know only the half of it. Each moment ends the instant it begins. If you do not see this, you will not see what is exquisite in it, and you will call the moment ordinary. Each interaction begins to end the instant it begins to begin. Only when this is truly contemplated and deeply understood does the full treasure of every moment and of life itself open to you. Life cannot give itself to you if you do not understand that. You must do more than understand it. You must love it, even as you love life. Your time with each person will be glorified if you thought it was your last time with that person. Your experience of each moment would be enhanced beyond, but not every people care about it really. Not son to the parents, not, I don't know. Um, Beyond the measure, if you thought it was the last such moment, your refusal to contemplate your own death leads to your refusal to contemplate your own life. You do not see it for what it is. You miss the moment and all it holds for you. You look right past it instead of right through it. When you look deeply at something, you see right through it. To contemplate a thing deeply is to see right through it. Then the illusion ceases to exist. Then you see a thing for what it really is. Only then can you truly enjoy it, that is, place joy into it. To enjoy is to render something joyful. Even the illusion you can then enjoy, for you will know it is an illusion. That's how the enjoyment is the fact that you think it is real that causes you all the pain. Nothing is painful which you understand is not real. Let me repeat that. Nothing is painful which you understand is not real. It is like a movie, a drama played out on the stage of your mind. You are creating the situation and the characters. You are writing the lines. Nothing is painful the moment you understand that nothing is real. This is as true of death as it is of life. When you understand that death too is an illusion, then you can say, "Oh death, where is thy sting?" You can even enjoy that. You can even enjoy someone else's death. Does it seem strange? Does it seem a strange thing to say? Only if you do not understand death and life. Death is never an end, but always a beginning. A death is a door opening, not a door closing. When you understand that life is eternal, you understand that death is your illusion, keeping you very concerned with, and therefore helping you believe that you are your body. Yet you are not your body, and so the destruction of your body is of no concern to you. Death should teach you that what is real is life, and life teaches you that what is unavoidable is not death, but impermanency. Impermanency is the only truth. Nothing is permanent. All is changing. It's changing in every instant, in every moment. Were anything permanent, it could not be, for even the very concept of permanency depends upon impermanency to have any meaning. Therefore, even permanency is impermanent. Look at this deeply, contemplate this truth, comprehend it, and you comprehend God. This is the Dharma, and this is the Buddha. This is the Buddha Dharma. This is the teaching and the teacher. This is the lesson and the master. This is the object and the observer, rolled into one. They never have been other than one. It's you who have unrolled them, so that your life may unroll before you. Yet, as you watch your own life roll out before you, do not yourself become unraveled. Keep yourself together. See the illusion, enjoy it, but do not become it. You are not the illusion, but the creator of it. You are in this world, but not of it. So use the illusion of that. Use it. Allow it to be the key that opens you to more of life. See the flower as dying, and you will see the flower sadly. Yet see the flower as a part of a holy tree that is changing, and it will soon bear fruit. And it will soon bear fruit, and you see the flower's true beauty. When you understand that the blossom and the failing away of the flower is a sign that the tree is ready to bear fruit, then you understand life. Look at this carefully, and you will see that life is its own metaphor. Always remember, you are not the flower, nor are you even the fruit. You are the tree, and your roots are deep embedded in me. I am the soil from which you have sprung, and both your blossoms and your fruit will return to me, creating more rich soil. Thus, life begets life, and I cannot know that ever. So is Gaia talking here. That's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Thank you. Will you speak to me now of something that is troubling me? I need to talk about suicide. What's there such a taboo against the ending for one's life? Indeed, why is there? You mean it's not wrong to kill yourself? The question cannot be answered to your satisfaction because the question itself contains two false concepts. It's based on the two false assumptions. It contains two errors. The first false assumption is that there is such a thing as right and wrong. The second false assumption is that killing is possible. Your question itself, therefore, disintegrates the moment it is discarded. Right and wrong are philosophical polarities in our human value system which have nothing to do with the ultimate reality, a point which I have made repeatedly throughout this dialogue. They are furthermore not even constant constructs within your own system, but rather values which keep shifting from time to time. You are doing the shift, changing your mind about these values as it suits you, which rightly you should as evolving beings. Yet insist at each step along the way that you haven't done this, and that is your unchanged values which form the core of society integrity. You have thus built your society on a paradox. You keep changing your values, all the while proclaiming that is unchanging values which you, value. The answer to the problems presented by this paradox is not to throw cold water on the sand and attempt to make it concrete, but to celebrate the shifting of the sand. Celebrate it is built while it holds itself in the shape of your castle, but then celebrate the new form and shape it takes as the tide comes in. Celebrate the shifting sands as they form the new mountains you would climb, and atop which and with which you build your new castles. Yet understand that these mountains and these castles are monuments to to change, not to permanency. Glorify what you are today, yet do not condemn what you were yesterday. Don't preclude what could become tomorrow. Understand that right and wrong are figments of imagination, and that okay and not okay are merely announcements of your latest preferences and imaginings. For example, on the questions of ending one's life, it is the current imagining of the majority of people on your planet that's not okay to do that. Similarly, many of you still insist that it's not okay to assist another who wishes to end his or her life. In both cases, you say this should be against the law. You have come to this conclusion, presumably, because the ending of life occurs relatively quickly. Actions which end a life over somewhat longer period of time are not against the law, even though they achieve the same result. Thus, if a person in your society kills himself with a gun, his family members lose insurance benefits. If he does so with cigarettes, they do not. If a doctor assists you in your suicide, it's called manslaughter, while if a tobacco company does, it's called commerce. With you, it seems to be merely a question of time. The legality of self-destruction, the rightness or wrongness of it, seems to have much to do with how quickly the deed is done, as well as who is doing it. The faster the death, the more wrong it seems to be. The slower the death, the more it slips into okayness. Interestingly, this is the exact opposite of what a truly humane society would conclude. By any reason, any reasonable definition of what you would call humane, the shorter the death, the better. Yet your society punishes those who would seek to do the humane thing and rewards those who would do the insane. It's insane to think that endless suffering is what God requires and that a quick humane end to the suffering is wrong. Yeah, and they still say, oh, must be patient because it's God's way, it's God who wishes. You must be patient because it's not them that's suffering with indignity, being probed here and there, maybe disturbing other people in a pain, in a excruciating pain through a terminal disease or an accident, etc. Punish the human, reward the insane. This is a motto which only a society of beings with limited understanding could embrace. So you poison your system by inhaling carcinogens. You poison your system by eating food treated with chemicals that over the long run kill you, and you poison your system by breathing air which you have continually polluted. You poison your system in 100 different ways over 1,000 different moments, and you do this knowing these substances are not good for you, but because it takes a longer time for them to kill you, you commit suicide with impunity. If you poison yourself with something that works faster, you are said to have done something against moral law. Now I tell you this, it's no more immoral to kill yourself quickly than it is to kill yourself slowly. So a person who ends his own life is not punished by God. I do not punish, I love. What of the often heard statement that those who think they are going to escape their predicament or end their condition with suicide only find that they are facing the same predicament condition in the afterlife, in hell, or even umbral or purgatory? They say that people will suffer on the other side because it was not time yet, and therefore escaped and ended in nothing. Your experience in what you call the afterlife is a reflection of your consciousness at the time you entered it. Yet you are always a being of free will and may alter your experience whenever you choose. So loved ones who have ended their physical life are okay. Yes, they are very okay. Contrary to the crazy, insane people who say that they will suffer, that they are namadi there in a purgatory. They call it the valley of the suicide valleys, that they are punished, etc. Or that they gonna take a long time to be reincarnated again. There's a wonderful book on this subject called Stephen Livers by Annie Poria. It's about her son who ended his life when he was a teenager. So many people have found it helpful. Annie Poria is a wonderful messenger, as is her son. So you can recommend this book. It is an important book. It says more on this subject than we are saying here. And those who have deep hurts or lingering issues surrounding the experience of a loved one ending their life will be opened to healing through this book. It is said that we even had such deep hurts or issues, but much of that, I think, is a result of what our society has laid on us about suicide. I think that the people who most suffer during a suicide is the loved ones who really love that person. The loved ones, the one who felt guilt, and they will always question themselves what they could have done or not done to stop that deed. So those are the ones who most suffer during this process of suicide, are the loved ones and not the dead per se. Yeah, it seems obvious when you spell them out like that. Why can't we see such obvious truths on our own? Because if you saw these truths, you would have to do something about them. This you do not wish to do. So you have no choice but to look right at something and not see it. But why would you not want to do something about this truth if you saw them? Because human does not rationalize false convention. Because you believe that in order to do something about them, you would have to end your pleasures. And ending pleasures is something you have no desire to do. Most of the things which causes you slow deaths are things which bring you pleasure or result from those things. And most of the things which bring you pleasure are things which satisfy the body. Indeed, this is what marks yours as a primitive society, correct? Your lives are structured largely around seeking and experiencing pleasures of the body, correct? Again, correct. Of course, all beings everywhere seek to experience pleasures. There is nothing primitive in that. In fact, it's the natural order of things. What differentiates societies and beings within societies is what they define as pleasurable. If a society is structured largely around pleasures of the body, it is operating at a different level from a society structured around pleasures of the soul. And understand too that this does not mean that your Puritans were right, and that all pleasures of the body should be denied. It means that in elevated societies, pleasures of the physical body do not make up the largest number of pleasures which are enjoyed. They are not the prime focus. The more elevated societal being, the more elevated are its pleasures. Correct. Wait a minute. That sounds like such a value judgment. I thought you, God, didn't make value judgment. Is it a value judgment to say that Mount Everest is higher than Mount McKinley? Is it a value judgment to say that Auntie Sarah is older than her nephew Tommy? Are these values judgments or observations? I have not said I have not said it is better to be elevated in one's consciousness. In fact, it's not any more than it's better to be in fourth grade than in first, and the fourth grade than in first. I'm simply observing what fourth grade is, and we are not in fourth grade in this planet. We are in first. Is it? Is it? We are not in the number 4 grade in this planet. We are on the first grade, is it? My child, you are not yet even in kindergarten. You are in nursery school. That's true. How can I not hear that as an insult? Why does it sound to me as if you are putting the human race down? Because you are deeply ego invested in being something you are not, and in not being what you are. Most people hear insults when only an observation has been made. If what is being observed is something they don't want to own. Yet, until you hold a thing, you cannot let it go, and you cannot disown that which you have never owned. You cannot change that which you do not accept. Precisely, enlightenment begins with acceptance without judgment of what it is. This is known as moving into the isness. It's in the isness where freedom will be found. What you resist persists. What you look at disappears. That is, ceases to have its illusory form. You see it for what it is, and what is can always be changed. It is only what is not that cannot be changed. Therefore, to change the isness, move into it. Do not resist it. Do not deny it. What you deny, you declare. What you declare, you create. Denial of something is recreation of it. For the very act of denying something places it there. Acceptance of something places you in control of it. That which you deny, you cannot control, for you have said it's not there. Therefore, what you deny controls you. The majority of your race does not want to accept that you have not yet evolved to kindergarten. It does not want to accept that the human race is still in nursery school. Yet, this lack of acceptance is exactly what keeps it there. You are so deeply ego invested in being what you are, not highly evolved, that you are not being what you are, evolving. You are thus working against yourself, fighting yourself, and hence evolving very slowly. The fast track of evolution begins with admitting and accepting what is, not what is not. And I will know I have accepted what is when I no longer feel insulted as I hear it described. Exactly. Are you insulted if I say you have blue eyes? So now I tell you this, the more elevated the society of being, the more elevated are its pleasures. What you call pleasure is what declares your level of evolution, correct? Help me with this term elevated. What do you mean by that? Your being is the universe in microcosm. You and your whole physical body are composed of raw energy clustered around 7 centers or chakras. Study the chakra center and what they mean. There are hundreds of books written about this. This is wisdom I have given the human race before. What's pleasurable or stimulates your lower chakra is not the same as what is pleasurable to your higher chakras. The higher you raise the energy of your life through your physical being, the more elevated will be your consciousness. Well, here we go again. That seems to argue for celibacy. That seems to be the holy argument against expression of sexual passion. People who are elevated in their consciousness don't come from their root chakra, the first or lowest chakra in their interactions with other humans. That's true. But I thought you have said throughout this dialogue that human sexuality wants to be celebrated and not repressed. That's correct. Well, help me out here because we seem to have a contradiction. The world is full of contradictions, my son. Lack of contradictions is not a necessary ingredient in truth. Sometimes greater truth lies within the contradictions. What we have here is the divine dichotomy or divine dichotomy. Then help me understand the dichotomy or dichotomy, because all of my life I've heard about how desirable it was, how elevated I was to raise the Kundalini energy out of the root chakra. This has been the chief justification for mystics living lives of sexless ecstasy. I realize we've gotten way off the subjects of that here, and I apologize for dragging us into unrelated territory. What are you apologizing for? A conversation goes where a conversation goes. The topic we are on in this whole holy dialogue is what it means to be fully human and what life is about in the universe. That's the only topic, and this falls within that. Wanting to know about that is wanting to know about life, a point I made earlier. And if our exchanges lead to an expansion of our inquiry to include the very act which creates life and celebrates it magnificently, so be it. Now let's get clear again about one thing. It's not a requirement of the highly evolved that all sexual expression be muted and all sexual energy be elevated. If that were true, then there would be no highly evolved beings anywhere, because all evolution would have stopped. A rather obvious point, yes. And so anyone who says that the very holiest people never have sex and that this is a sign of their holiness does not understand how life was meant to work. Let me put this in very clear terms. If you want a yardstick with which to judge whether things is good for the human race or not, ask yourself a simple question. Why would it happen if everyone did it? What would happen if everyone did it? This is a very easy measure and a very accurate one. If everyone did a thing and the result was the ultimate benefit to the human race, then that is evolved, evolution. If everyone did it and it brought disaster to the human race, then that's not a very elevated thing to recommend. Do you agree? Of course. Then you have just agreed that no real master will ever say that sexual celibacy is the path to mastery. Yet it is the idea that sexual abstinence is somehow the higher way, and that sexual expression is a lower desire that has shamed the sexual experience and caused all manner of guilt and dysfunction to develop around it. Yet, if the reason against sexual abstinence is that it would prohibit procreation, could it be argued that once sex has served this function, there is no more need for it? One does not engage in sex because one realizes one's responsibility to the human race to procreate. One engages in sex because it's the natural thing to do. It is built into the genes, not mine. You obey a biological imperative. Precisely, it is genetic signal that drives to the question of species survival. But once the survival of the species is assured, isn't the elevated thing to do ignore the signal? You misinterpret the signal. The biological imperative is not to guarantee the survival of the species, but to experience the oneness which is the true nature of your being. Creation new life is what happens when oneness is achieved, but it is not the reason oneness is sought. If procreation were the only reason for sexual expression, if it were nothing more than a delivery system, you would no longer need to engage in it with one another. You can unite the chemical elements of life in a petri dish, correct? Yet this would not satisfy the most basic urges of the soul, which it turns out are much larger than mere procreation, but have to do with recreation of who and what you really are. The biological imperative is not to create more life, but to experience more life, and to experience that life as it really is, a manifestation of oneness. That's why you'll never stop people from having sex, even though they have long ago stopped having children. Of course, yes, some say that sex should stop when people stop having children, and that those couples who continue with this activity are just caving the basic physical craving into basic physical urges. Yes, that's correct, because imagine a 70-year-old, 80-year-old having sex. For the men might be okay, but for the woman not so, because it can, the cervix of the female gets too flimsy, too sensitive, too fine. See the fiber, the muscle. And when something friction happens there inside, it may hurt her. She may bleed, and it can be fatal if she get an infection. This happened to I guess one like 80-year-old or to 75-year-old neighbors of my mom. I often went to her house. I was more or less 9-year-old, no, 11-year-old girl, and my mother would often give this lady some things like produce, which was organic produce like cassava, mangoes, and other okra, vegetables, and many other fruits for her. So I would send it for her, and I will stay with her. She was quite poor lady. She lived with her husband and a younger son. The others all have gone out already. So one time I heard overhead, eavesdrop her telling my mom that she was sick. She was bleeding from below there. And my mother asked her why. She said, because my husband always sick me at night. Okay, so what happened? There's one time when I don't know really what happened, but she died because of it. So I had my mom tell my sisters that because of the old men who come and disturb her at night, even when she didn't want it. Poor thing. She was an Afro native lady. And we all become very shocked, and I become shocked and a pit for her, the miss. And she died, I say, very like, this is not even necessary death just because of a stupid sex at this old age. And an old woman cannot have this, okay? Better not to have. She have this, I think I have hemorrhage or whatever infection. And my ex-mother-in-law, I have heard she's a now 83-year-old, and I've heard that she's having the same problem. And it look like her husband, who is having dementia or whatever, Alzheimer, he is into it yet. So I question my daughter, my older daughter, whether she is still engaged. She allow her husband to, you know, sleep at night at this age. The husband 94, she's 84, and I find it disgusting, really disgusting. All the people supposed to retire from everything. Maybe on the 50s you still want to have sex, go ahead, but after that, 65-year-old, I don't think, even before 65, is already time to stop this. Especially so the female. It's time to rest. You have done it. You have had it. So stop it. Give a rest. Give a break. Especially so the females. So this one, what she say? If procreation were the only reason for sexual expression, if it were nothing more than a delivery system, you would no longer need to engage in it with one another. You can unite the chemical elements of life, the sperm in the egg, in a petri dish. Yet this would not satisfy the most basic urges of the soul, which it turns out are much larger than mere procreation. When two wants, and when two are able, when the body is able, many women are not able to have this, so better don't have. So it's not much larger than mere procreation, but it have to do with recreation of who and what you really are. The biological imperative is not to create more life, but to experience more life, and to experience that life as it really is, a manifestation of oneness. That's why you'll never stop people from having sex, even though they have long stopped having children. That's rubbish. Yes, some say that sex should stop when people stop having children, and that those couples who continue with this activity are just craving into base physical urges. Yes, you see, it's correct. No need, all this is nonsense, it's stupid. They haven't evolved yet. Sex for younger people, when their hormones is, you know, very agitated in the highest peak. Once you are on your 40s above, I don't think that you should engage in too much of it. When you are 40, you slow down a bit, but still continue doing it. When you are in 50, maybe you should slow a bit more. Maybe do it once a month or once every 3-4 months. When you are 60s, stop completely. Yeah, some say sex should stop. And that is not elevated, but merely animalistic behavior beneath the more noble nature of a man. This gets us back to the subject of chakras or energy center. I already have closed my chakra, my lower chakra, the brown chakra have closed already. I said earlier that the higher you raise the energy of life through your physical beings, the more elevated will be your consciousness and your choices of what you want in life. Yes, that seems to say no sex. No, it does not. Not when you understand it. Let me go back to your previous comment and make something clear. There is nothing ignoble or unholy about having sex. You have got to get that idea out of your mind and out of your culture. So listen here. Um, there is nothing ignoble or unholy about having sex. You have got to get the idea out of your mind and out of your culture. There is nothing base or gross or less than dignified, much less sanctified about a passionate desire filled sexual experience. Physical urges are not manifestations of animalistic behavior. Depend of the age, those physical urges were built into the system by me. I rather not have it. Who do you suppose created that? Who do you suppose created that way? Yet, physical urges are but one ingredient in a complex mixture of of responses that you all have to each other. Remember, you are a three-part being with 7 chakra centers. When you respond to one another from all 3 parts and all 7 centers at the same time, then you have the peak experience you are looking for, that you have been created for, and that there is nothing unholy about any of these energies. Yet, if you choose just one of them that is unholy, it's not being holy. When you are not being whole, you are being less than yourself. That is what is meant by unholy. Wow, I get it. The anomination against sex for those who choose to be elevated was never an anomination from me. It was an invitation. An invitation is not an anomination, admonition. Yet you have made it so. And the invitation was not to stop having sex, but to stop being unholy. Whatever you are doing, having sex or having breakfast, going to work or walking the beach, jumping rope or reading a good book, whatever you are doing, do it as a whole being, as the whole being you are. If you are having sex from only your lower chakra center, that is for fun and pleasure, which is the case here in this earth, you are operating from the root chakra alone and are missing by far the most glorious part of the experience. Yet, if you are being loving with another person and you come from all 7 energy centers while you are being that, now you are having a peak experience. How can this not be holy? It can't. I mean, you never to imagine such an experience not being holy. And so the invitation to raise this life energy through your physical being to the top chakra was never meant to be a suggestion or demand that you disconnect from the bottom. If you have raised the energy to your heart chakra or even to your crown chakra, that doesn't mean that it cannot be in your root chakra as well. Indeed, it is not. You are disconnected. When you have raised the life energy to your higher centers, you may or may not choose to have what you would call a sexual experience with another. But if you do not, it will not be because to do so would be to violate some cosmic law on holiness, nor will it make you somehow more elevated. And if you do choose to be sexual with another, it will not lower you to a root chakra only level, unless you do the opposite of disconnection at the bottom and disconnect from the top. So here is the invitation, not an admonition, but an invitation. Raise your energy, your life force to the highest level possible in every moment, and you will be elevated. This has nothing to do with having sex or not having sex. It has to do with you raising your consciousness, no matter what you are doing. I get it, I understand, although I don't know how to raise my consciousness. I don't think I know how to raise the life energy through my chakra centers, and I'm not sure most people even know what these centers are. Anyone who earnestly wishes to know more about the physiology of spirituality can find out easily enough. I have sourced this information before in every clear terms. You mean in other books through other writers? Yes. Read the writings of Deepak Chopra. He is one of the clearest initiators right now on your planet. He understands the mystery of spirituality and the science of it. And there are other wonderful messages as well. Their books describe not only how to raise your life force up through your body, but also how to leave your physical body. I didn't need to go all through this to go out of my body. I did naturally without make prayer, meditation, or do ritual. You can remember through these additional readings how joyous it is letting the body go. Then you will understand how it could be that you might never again fear death. You will understand the dichotomy or dichotomy, how it is a joy to be with the body and a joy to be free of it. And that's all for now.